One of the questions I've seen come up a lot is how to use pagination with the Foodie theme. The previous version included this built in, but it was a little inflexible, and so the designer decided to separate it as a separate function, allowing you to use these other plugins that are superior to what was available, however, making it a little bit more difficult to figure out navigation for your users. What I'm really talking about is if we scroll down, I'm on my homepage right now. Is there a way to install something that says, go check out the rest of my blog? Or, I think on our Minimalist Baker site right now, it says like previous deliciousness. And it allows you to scroll back through your content archives and see what has been created before and what else exists, and hopefully get somebody visiting your site at the first time more engaged with what you've created. There are some plugins and some other things to kind of help do this and options that work. However, I think the far superior way is to do it within Genesis, add a special text link, and kind of adjust accordingly. There are a couple places we might have to make some small sacrifices, but I think what we're able to do is still accomplish the idea that you can go back through every recipe, not just every recipe, everything posted that would be posted on your blog, and create a archive for those that people can come back to and look to. I will start by saying if you want to use something like a specific category, like only recipes from your site or only vegan recipes from your site, you do need to do this a little bit different. You would link directly to that category page. But the tutorial that I'm showing right now is about specifically setting up your site pagination for every post that would be on your site. To do this, let's jump into, I'm actually going to start here fresh. Let's jump into our dashboard and then go down to pages. And what we're actually going to do is create a new page. Creating your new page, you can really name it whatever you'd like. You could do something like blog or recipes, especially if all of your recipes or all of your content are recipes, or just posts, something like that. But I'll leave it at blog for now so you can use it and adjust to your site accordingly. And all we will really do is use a really cool feature built into Genesis and Foodie and set up a blog template. If I click publish here, what I've done is create my site /blog now. I guess that will be based on what you have set in your permalinks. So under settings, permalinks, if you set up something else, your URL might be a little bit different. But if you want it just your site /blog, that's possible by going to settings, permalinks if you don't have that set up. And what in brief I have here is a rolling total of everything posted to this site. This is the pagination that we're looking for down here at the bottom. So I can actually scroll back now and look for old posts or something that I wanted on my site. So our goals now are to format this, make this look a little bit nicer, kind of give you what options exist, and then link to your special new archive that will allow people to get back into your content. So the first thing, let's actually talk about setting up the link on your homepage. To get it on your homepage, as you remember, we have a homepage widget up here and a homepage widget right here. We want to put a text link in down here. And I'm going to go into my dashboard, go to Appearance and Widgets, and under my home bottom section, so this is the end of my content, I'm just going to drag a text widget over. So I'm going to drag that up here and put it under my home bottom section. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of code. This is from Shay, and I'll post it below as well. And what this is doing is installing a link at the bottom of your homepage. Now, what we want to put right here is this URL. I guess I say that you could go to your site /blog and you could install that. I'm going to show you how to set this up here in a minute, but I prefer to actually link to the second page on this because, as you can see, if we click page 2, it's blog /page 2. If I click 3, it's going to just change this to 3. So my goal is to send people who have already checked out my homepage. So on my homepage, they've seen these, at least right now, 7 recipes, because I've got 1 up here and 6 down here. I want, if they click down here to get back into my content, I want them to see my next 7 recipes. I don't want them to see the same ones again, if I can help it, but that's up to you. So what I'm going to do is copy this page 2 and just copy that. So if we paste that link, Make sure you have quotes in on both sides here, so that link is closed in by quotes. You have the see more, and this is the right arrow code. You could change that to something else if you wanted. If you click save and then go back to your homepage and refresh, I've now got this little see more link right here. And you could change that text, you could change that arrow, do anything else you want. But what happens, of course, when I click that is it takes us to that blog page 2. And so I'm starting at sweet potato oats. There are more posts in between those two that I could set up. Or sorry, that are, if on my first pages, you'll see it actually right now ends on this post. So I'm showing 10 posts right here, whereas on my actual homepage of my site, I am only showing 7. So the way to go back in and change that, I'll save my widgets. I'm here on my WordPress dashboard again, and then we'll go to Genesis and theme settings. If I scroll down here to content archives and my blog page template, these are some settings that are actually specifically set up for this template. So the first thing we can do is change our excerpts versus content, including a featured image, any of that other of those details. I'm actually going to be able to do some other things with that here shortly, so I'm just going to leave that. But on my blog page template, I actually am only going to change this to 7. If I go back and click save now, go back to our blog page, we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 posts showing. So it ends at vegan pumpkin sugar cookies. Looking at our homepage, that's where that ends as well. And so my goal is that on my second page now, it starts with vegan pumpkin pie ice cream. That way, if I'm on my homepage, I go down here and click see more. It takes me to that blog page 2, and it's starting on the next recipe. So that is, in my opinion, the ideal way to set up the pagination for Foodie Pro. The next section we're going to talk about is actually formatting your archives. The one disclaimer I will give here is that if you use content archives such as your recipes and your recipe categories later, and by that I would mean if you have a page, we'll set up our recipe page, but if you set up a page and then you want to link to just your vegan recipes, that information will display the same way that this blog page is going to display. I think that's totally okay, and it gives your site a consistent feel. However, with setting up your blog page this way and changing the settings that we're going to set here in a minute, you are going to change those settings as well. So just make sure it's something that's consistent, something that works for you in both instances. In that instance, I would set this page up to be a little bit more of a gallery type style theme rather than just a text and your links. And to do that, or to do any of these changes, we're going to use the customize option within WordPress itself. You should have a quick access button right here. If you don't, it's going to be under appearance and then customize. I'm going to use this page because I know I have featured images already set up on some of this, but I'm going to go to my customize menu. And then I'm going to scroll down here to content archives. And you're going to see you have a lot of different options and things you can set up very quickly. I think for this, maybe using the 1/3 grid is a good fit. They're obviously just your style, or what ends up working for you is going to be whatever, you can change this to make it fit your style and what you're trying to do. You can remove any of the content or data that you want. I guess these filed unders are kind of nice, but that's up to you. I'll leave them for now. And then we do want to leave our title, probably. And then we'll actually use our featured image. If you remember way back from actually setting up our page, using the featured image there will give us, making sure we have a featured image set for our post will give us the option to bring it up here. Your post navigation type, you could do a previous or next instead of numeric, which is these buttons down here if you'd like. But let's change the featured image size to a square, and it makes everything a little bit more consistent. As you can see, even with my page right now, since I have a long title, it sets this one off a little bit. So maybe for me, a better fit is using like a 1/2 grid or something like that. That looks pretty slick, and that would show 7 recipes like that. So that could be a good option. Or you could try and show more, do something smaller like that. I will say some people have mentioned, if I go back to the full width here, you'll see that this comes out pretty fuzzy. And the reason is because we're using a featured image size of 320 by 320, but we're stretching it out to like 680 pixels or something close to that. So you would want to adjust your image size based on how much space you have in here, and use the bigger images for the bigger spaces and the smaller images for the smaller spaces. The 320 by 320 does work in general better for your any sort of grid display. Some of these others are, if you wanted a horizontal or vertical thumbnail, that could be a good fit for your site. If you're doing a food site, let's pull up the third here again. Gives you the long stretched image, essentially what I was trying to show you. So that could be, I could see why a lot of food bloggers would prefer that size. Obviously this isn't 600 by 900 pixels, but it does allow you to use your full square or your rectangle image rather than just the square that's cut off. So maybe even doing something like this is a pretty slick setup. My full images, the way that I like them displayed, my full featured images, as well as scrolling down and showing 7 posts. So that is setting up. We'll just click save and publish. Again, we'll come back to this page when we're talking about a recipe page, because the way that we link to our content archives there will be styled identical to this. Oh, one more thing, you could move your post title below by just simply putting your featured image before or after the title. So if we do it like this, now it's listed something like that. That's okay. I kind of like the title before, but that's totally a preference thing. And that is how I would say is your ideal pagination, how you scroll through, you set it up so it's available on your homepage, but you also, when people are going through, here we go. If I save this, it should give people a great way to navigate and get back into your content and see what's available.